This is an Ielts speaking test simulation. Welcome. Can you please tell me your name?
My name's Lillian Bourne.
And where are you from?
I'm from Melbourne. I live in the eastern suburbs. I'm a student. I just graduated from high school and I studied architecture. Well, I'm about to go to university and study architecture. And I have moved areas. I used to live in Ormond and then I moved to Willers Hill. And I cannot wait to start university. It's a new chapter in my life.
Great. This is part 1 of the exam. Can you please talk to me about your neighbours? How often do you see your neighbours?
I actually see my neighbours quite often. I have a neighbour called Charlotte. She lives next door and I grew up with her. And we were so close growing up because we're only 1 year apart that we used to climb over the fence to see each other, and we'd always play in each other's backyards and share toys with each other. So in that sense, I always was in contact with my neighbours. But in the wider community of my neighbours, I have this organisation this activity called Junior Youth, which is when students who live in the area come together and study this material, which is about developing your qualities and virtues. So you learn about love, you learn about justice and the importance of serving others. So that's how I get to know my community and those around my age at the time was through this program, and there we can bond together really well. So I would say I definitely know my neighbours pretty well.
Great. Do you invite your neighbours around to your home?
So it's back to what I was saying about Charlotte. She used to come over almost once a week, or in fact more than that. We would hang out a lot, especially during school holidays. Although when she did graduate a year older than me, because we have 1 year apart from us, we didn't hang out as much, and so therefore I lost touch with my neighbours and seeing them as much. However, I do wish that I can see her more often in the future. Even if we might not be neighbours anymore, we still have that connection, which I think is the beautiful thing about being neighbours. We can appreciate those next door to us who have totally separate lives to us, but are right next door.
Do you think you're a good neighbour?
I feel like I used to be a better neighbour, doing these programs, keeping in touch and going to the park with friends nearby. But as time goes on and we all get busy with the adult life or school life, and I've kept out of touch with a lot of people that I used to live so close to. So I think that's a shame, and I do wish to reach out to them again. So I should definitely consider putting in more effort to being a great neighbour.
And has a neighbour helped you?
A neighbour has definitely helped me. One time my mum was driving us home from school, and our petrol ran out. She didn't notice that our petrol had diminished like that. So we didn't know what to do. We stood there for a while, sitting outside the car. We were stranded in the middle of the street, so we called one of our neighbours and said, "Oh, do you happen to have any petrol?" And he said, "Yes, I do. Let me get my daughter and I to come around." And he did walk to us and gave us the petrol and walked home, and that was just really saved our day. So I'm very thankful for my neighbours for that.
This is part 2 of the exam. Describe a very difficult task that you succeeded in doing as part of your work or studies. You should say what the task you did, why the task was difficult, how you worked on this task, and explain how you felt when you had successfully completed this task. You have 1 to 2 minutes to discuss this topic, and you make some notes if you wish.
Thank you.
Time's up. Please describe this very difficult task.
So previously I have done an art folio because I'm interested in architecture. So the folio was to construct a train station from when we had our ideas displayed all the way until our final product. So this was difficult because we had to document all of the procedures, all of our ideas, every single step we made to constructing this train station design. And that is a lot of work. In fact, in the end, it was about like 80 pages of data that I had collected. So at first, I kept procrastinating this task because it is a big, daunting thing to do. I came up with ideas, but I had writer's block or creative block, which I couldn't think of what I wanted this to look like. So I kept on brainstorming, doing different types of creative thinking strategies to create new ideas. And in the end, I was able to finally come up with a design for this train station. However, when it came to my final product, because I had spent so much time thinking of this idea, that I didn't have enough time to complete it in the end. And this was so detrimental to my learning because I only had a few days left to finish this final product. So the last few days, I was constantly drinking coffee, which I absolutely hate, all night, spending 24 hours awake, studiously finishing this folio. And in the end, I did not even finish it. And I was absolutely heartbroken. All these nights and all these sacrifices that I had made went to waste. That's what I thought. So I was so saddened in the end. However, I completely forgot about it. I wanted to push it at the back of my mind. But I waited for 2 more weeks until my results came out. And I was really surprised that I got actually a really great mark. Even though I hadn't finished it, apparently the work I had done was enough, and I was very pleased.
Brilliant, thank you. We are now going to do part 3 of the exam. We're going to discuss difficult jobs. What are the most difficult jobs that people do?
I think there is no such thing as a difficult job per se, because any job you can do, you can put your heart to, and you can make it as difficult as you can. And I think that the more difficult it is, the more rewarding it is. For example, yes, a CEO of a company, that is really difficult and people recognize it as that. However, if you're just a cleaner and you're cleaning studiously every single day, non-stop, I feel like both are equally as hard, because you are putting your heart into it. And however, I cannot help to think every time I go to an airport, the people working in an airport, I really could not imagine myself working there, just because of personal preference, I think makes a huge difference in what we believe is hard or not hard. Being in a place where you're constantly inside a building and having to deal with people all the time who usually do not cooperate, I would get claustrophobic, I would be frustrated people really quickly, and that's just my personal preference. Some people would love that. Some people would say, oh great, I love to help people, I love handling people and making sure everyone's in line. So for me, that would be the hardest job, but then again, it is subjective.
Why do you think people choose to do a difficult job?
Because it is rewarding. For example, helping people can be so difficult. People get cranky, people don't cooperate, people don't want to be helped. But in the end, you made a difference to someone's life, and that's the most important thing, in fact, in my opinion, is being able to help people in need, even when they don't want it, because someday they'll thank you later in life.
Do you agree or disagree that all jobs are difficult sometimes?
I definitely agree, because each job has its own difficulties in different ways. Even the easiest job, for example, just picking up litter around the street, you wouldn't think of the challenges that they have to come through. Maybe it's discrimination, people discriminating them, maybe it's the finance, maybe it's the conditions that they are at. They can be just as difficult as someone doing like a high paid job. It's really, I think we shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
And some personal successes. How important is it for everyone to have a goal in their personal life?
I think it's the most important. Without goals in your life, you can't see the destination. A lot of people go through their lives and they don't know what they're doing. They haven't even reflected on what they want to achieve. They just go with the flow. They're easily manipulated by other people. And I feel like setting goals is so important to finding purpose in your life, to not get swayed by the opinions of others, and to work for something and put everyday time into something that you actually believe.
Is it always necessary to work hard in order to achieve a career success?
I think it is, definitely. The more effort you put in, the more reward comes out. You can put in a lot of effort and that will surprisingly get you to places which you wouldn't even thought you would go, and that's because people often pick these things up when raw effort is seen. That gets rewarded so much by the people around you, or just the way the workforce goes. It's the way that businesses have been set up, that promotions are made. It's the way our society is built on putting in this hard work.
Do you think successful people are always happy people?
It depends on your perspective of what success is. If you mean financially successful, in fame successful, definitely not. In fact, it's the opposite. A lot of artists say that most artists are pretty, as in music artists, are pretty sad because they are often confined by society expectations, or rich people are usually sad because they are always feeling unfulfilled. Whereas sometimes it's best just to walk the middle path and to manage all these in a balanced way.
Thank you. That was the end of the exam.
Thank you.